Hello to everybody watching this. My name is Ahmed, and I'm your host on the Booming with Banna Podcast. Today, we're on our third episode, and I'm joined with Abdullah, the co founder of Careem, a friend from Germany, and somebody who's done a bunch of other projects that we can't wait to find out more. So, let's get started.
Thank you, Ahmed.
How are you
Pleasure to be
today?
here.
Yeah, pleasure, pleasure to have you here as well. How's your day been?
Very good. Very good.
Very good, alhamdulillah. Obviously, when I first got to know you, you sent a voice message, and I couldn't help but notice that you had a German accent. And after doing a bit more research to prepare for this episode, I found out that you did live in Germany. So, was this a university only thing, or were you born and raised, or?
Yeah. No, great catch. I can't help it. It's just there. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. I was born and raised in Germany. In fact, my parents, both of them, do come from Mecca, and they went to Germany because my father studied medicine in Germany. He decided to stay there. They found he worked there. They found their mission in Germany, and they decided to stay there. They're still there till this very day.
Wow.
And hence we all were, me and my three siblings, were born in Germany and raised in Germany. And I stayed there all the way till I was 35, until I finally
Came here.
left Germany and came back,
Yeah.
which is not really a back, but came back to Saudi, yes.
What do you think something about living, because unfortunately Germany is Europe, but I'm originally from Egypt, and I noticed there's a lot of difference between when I come here and I go to Egypt, and even though essentially it's I'm only there for vacation, it feels a lot more like home in Egypt. So where do you think you'd call home, Germany or here in Saudi Arabia?
That's a great question, and I feel by today it's way more Saudi than Germany. While back in the days it was way more Germany than Saudi. It flipped, and what made it more home is the social warmth. I have to say,
Yeah.
the social warmth in the day to day. Yeah, that made the whole difference. There's of course a lot of family is here in Saudi, and but yeah, although I was born and raised in Germany, still there was always this feeling of, okay, I'm not exactly German, and this is something that doesn't just come by itself, but it's something you encounter, and
You're reassured by the people around you.
exactly. So yeah, for me it's definitely more Saudi, but it's still, I have two homes in my heart, and when I go to Germany, I still feel like going back home. Especially my parents are still there. A lot of my friends are there. So, and obviously, I love a lot of things about the German life that I'm actually missing here. That are just fantastic. So yeah, I have two homes.
That's really interesting. And or after I did a bit more research, I did find out that you attended university in Germany, and
Right.
you were a major in computer science.
Right.
And I just wanted to ask, was this your first choice? Was this the love you had, or was it something else?
As if you knew. No, it was actually my second choice. I wanted by any means to become an architect. That was so crystal clear to me. Even at your age, after school, I was going to a architecture bureau to do some office hours there and learn the trade and get some money. And I really loved it. I was very passionate about what architects do and how they impact people's life by giving them a home, giving them a way to experience a city, etc., etc. Very, very inspiring. And I also liked the people I was seeing in the office. I liked the personalities.
Do you find the difference? Do you think there's a very big difference in atmosphere between a tech-based workspace like in CS and one in architecture?
No, very much. But I only noticed afterwards because before I haven't seen. Right? But yeah, then life wanted it that I wasn't able to get into architecture because when I finished high school, my grades weren't getting me in. And I was a really tight decision because I was really on the edge and on the edge of the edge, like the 0.999 difference.
Small decimal,
Yeah,
yeah.
like a small. And so I said, okay, what can I do now? And there were two options. One option was to just sit and wait for 5 semesters. This is the system in Germany.
Yeah.
Then you're insured to get in, or you do something different. And so I asked around, got some advice, and one of the friends of my dad was an architect, and he told me, go for your second choice. My second choice was computer science. Go for your second choice.
How long is 5
without
semesters?
even blinking? It has more future. So I went for it. Yeah.
How long is 5 semesters? Because here 2 semesters is 1 year. So
Yeah, that's 2.5 years.
wow,
Yeah.
2.5 years.
That's a long time. Yeah.
What do you think if you did take that choice? What do you think would have been different today? What would you have done in those 2 years, and how would you be, or where would you be now?
Just thinking back, this would have been such a different life. What a small thing, but huge impact on my life. I can't even imagine how different it would have been. But yeah, subhanallah, sometimes it's good that you're not getting what you wish for, right? So you just do what you can, the outcome you live with, and you hope. No, you actually believe strongly that there is a good reason for any outcome you encounter, being it the good or the bad.
Yeah, especially since also it's for most of my audience here as well, we're between the ages of 14 to 22, so we're all in schooling. So it's interesting because I used to be, or I still am, a very like academically driven person, but I used to be very nitpicky about the individual point, the grade, which obviously has a lot of impact, like you said, like the decimal was the difference between this and that. But I think it's nicer when you look in the grand scale of things and how it all falls into one another and how it all plays a part. For me, I think it creates a nicer story and more character development. And I think one of the things to back that up is last year I took 2 courses. And these 2 courses were computer science basics, and they were computer science principles, and I also took physics. Both courses I was really interested in, and I was doing well in both those courses. But these 2 courses were supplied from the US. So as people who watch know, College Board, right? So I came and I took these courses. I did well in them. Then I took the final exam, which is supplied outside of Saudi Arabia. I didn't do as well as I wanted, and if I could go back, I would not change how I did. Because now with everything I'm doing, with all the projects I'm working on and school and multitasking, I think that breakdown, that fall is what, for me, in my opinion, really brought me back up or built me back up.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, failing is such an important, integral component of success, right? If you're not failing often enough, you're obviously not putting yourself out there and trying stuff where you can actually fail. And managing failure is also a skill, man. It just the resilience to stand back up and say, hey, okay, I didn't get the great results I wanted, but let me continue trying, and I take another classes or whatever, and give it another shot. That's resilience, right? Resilience gets you there.
What if CS wasn't your first pick? What motivated you in university to continue going along that path and taking those tests?
That was hard, man. So in the beginning, I was really not happy. Everything felt so dry and virtual, while the architecture world was so vibrant and human and lively. But computer science was okay. We have to go through all these math classes, and then even when we programmed something, it really did not have anything to do with real life, and it was so abstract. So really, in the first couple of semesters, I wasn't liking what I was doing, and I was liking more everything I'm doing on the side, like the volunteering. We were doing a lot of volunteering in Germany because my parents were very active in the Muslim community. So that was something I was very excited about, being active in all these clubs and and other activities. That was something I really loved, and I was doing university more like, okay, I have to get through this.
Yeah.
Until one day it changed, and I believe it changed when real world and computer science
Clicked.
finally came together.
Yeah.
And that really changed my life going forward, because there was this moment when we, as a group of few friends, we said, okay, let's use our skills. We were all in computer science, and let's use whatever we learned to actually fill a pain point we were seeing in our community, which was there wasn't enough high quality content for people to consume and watch, and so we said, okay, let's use the internet to distribute this.
What type of content was this? Was it short form, like
Long
TikTok, or longer
form.
videos?
Yeah, long videos. This was 1999. I don't think short form videos were even existing back then, and so this was like 2 hours lectures of people who were thought leaders in Germany, who we booked some time with them and asked them for an interview, or asked them for a speech, and then we put it out there for people to consume. People loved what we put out there, but it was so slow. So we realized very quickly that, okay, this is not scaling, this is not going anywhere, and we had to change it. And then we saw other platforms that started doing content sharing, where everybody can put stuff out there instead of only us as the owner of the website. Yeah. So we tried to do that. We played around with opening up the platform. Then we saw, okay, you have to curate this a little bit to be careful on what is there and what is being shown to others. But quickly you found into this mojo of, okay, it's growing organically. It's way faster than us recording. And at the end, we learned also from Facebook, which was coming up, all these social features.
Yeah.
And we found that tech has so much influence on real world. Yeah. Because we were seeing in our stats that people were sitting behind their computers, chatting with each other and consuming content people were sharing on our platform in the hours. And that was the magical moment where it was clear, okay, that's happened for a reason.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And do you think what
there's a message for you, I guess.
I have no idea. Okay.
Okay.
Do you think that so something like that where you see people interacting, so I'd ask then, do you think you find yourself as a more social, like for me, for my work, no matter what I want to pursue, it needs to be in front of people. Like I want to pursue, مثلا, I would love to do aeronautical engineering, inshallah. I want to work on planes, but I want to show it to the world. I don't want to work behind a PC or behind a model, but I would rather show it to the world. So I want to ask, interestingly, what do you think is the difference between someone who likes to keep to themselves and somebody who likes to project what they do to others? Because some debate that you need both types of
Most
people,
likely, right?
and then others say one is more successful than the other.
Yeah. No, I think the beauty of us as human species is that we are also different, and we only came thus far by us being so different. And you obviously, in every project, you need the person who loves, like really obsesses over lines of code.
Yeah.
And I really understand them. Where they look at the code and they love how efficient it's written, and for them it's a symphony that they enjoy, and they really grow in this, and they create amazing tools that other people then use to get to their highest and biggest potential, right?
Yeah.
So their joy, I understand their joy, and I can't take anything away from their impact, right?
Yeah. And I think that same symphony, when we're in school, you're categorized as either you're English and science smart or you're history and English smart. That's it's a stereotype.
Mm.
And for me, I think I relate a lot to that when it comes to the math and science smart, because with subjects I'm taking now, with like calculus and chemistry, there's really like, there is a beauty in understanding and in solving and getting it right. And I think when it's in front of people and even when it's behind the screen, it still means a lot to both yourself and to other people.
Yeah, completely agree.
Yeah. So I also want to ask. So you spoke about, you made your social networking site,
Mhm.
and it got to the hours to that point
Yeah.
where everything comes up and down. It's a
Yeah.
mountain. Where do you think was that the highest peak of the mountain?
This was exactly that, right? Scaling to 100,000 users. It took us 2 years to get there, or 1.5 years to get there. But then we ran out of funding. Because it was a charity project, so we never made money out of it. We worked for free, etc. So we asked for donors to actually give us money, and we spent this money on resources for people who did not want to work for free. They actually needed to give it some more hours to give it more structure. But then after raising, what was it? I think 20,000 euro we raised. After a while, just Facebook became so big and so good.
Yeah.
And YouTube just was all out there, and there wasn't more funding that made sense. So we looked into the mirror and said, okay, it was a nice ride. It was called Waymo, and we said, okay, we have to shut shop.
How does it
for
feel to
Waymo.
do something like that? I can't imagine, because for a first project that was of this scale,
Yeah,
and to
yeah.
say goodbye, I feel like
Yeah.
it must have felt like heartbreaking almost.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's not easy, man. It's not easy. But then also the facts were just too loud, right? And you have a responsibility for the team and for the people you inspired.
Yeah.
We co-founded this, so we had to early enough tell people that, okay, as much as we all were behind this, the future doesn't look as bright. And instead of putting even more volunteering hours for people, for example, who created the content, or putting even more hours into this that are paid, you'd rather focus on other things that have a better future. So we had to make this call also for others, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you're a storyteller.
Yeah.
You go out and inspire people
Yeah,
and tell them,
yeah.
hey, this is where we're heading. And when you see, okay, you're actually not right reaching there, you also have, for everybody who believed in that, you have to be fair and tell them, okay, we
It's not
tried,
working. Yeah.
it's not working, and that's fine. It's hard, but it's always a lesson. You learn so much on the past going there.
If somebody's going through the same situation where they need to know when to call it a day and to tell others about that as well, what is one piece of advice you would give them?
It's very hard to put out an advice on this one in particular, because you have to learn it yourself. Everybody will have his or her own way to deal with the situation, and it's going to be a perfect way for her or him. But I think the most important thing is to not linger on a project when you know that it's not working out.
Yeah.
To linger on and uh, and not look into the mirror and call it a day, because then we're just burning energy and burning resources. And I think having a good co-founder team where everybody is open and where we are holding each other accountable, and
Yeah.
where we are having an open and honest conversation, helps a lot. And once you are there, you will do the right thing.
Yeah. Did you have any other, or obviously you did, but what was the next project that you worked on after Waymo?
Yeah. Um, after Waymo, very long. I didn't do much. This was on the side, right? But I finished my PhD. Then I started working as a consultant, and then we took this choice to go to Saudi. But the reason to go to Saudi was again the same thing: finding a way to use tech to have social impact. And when I went to Saudi, I was still in the beginning working as a consultant, but I was looking together with my friends who co-founded before Waymo. We were looking for options and opportunities to start something again in Saudi. So that's how Enwani started. Enwani started in 2012.
2012.
Yeah,
So a bit recent compared to
Yeah,
other
absolutely,
projects.
absolutely.
Can you tell me more about what it's Anwani? Arabic translates to location, my location.
Correct.
So what exactly was the purpose of the software or of the application that you were developing?
Yeah. Enwani was coming from a pain point I was living when I came to Saudi. We didn't have clear addresses, so completely opposite to Germany, where we had a clear address and home delivery was so easy. In Saudi, it wasn't. So we tried to solve this issue by having an address in the cloud, where home delivery companies were able to, through the address in the cloud, through your telephone number, your cell phone number, locate you, and then ship without back and forth and calling and
without checking it.
yeah. Exactly. So that's what we did, and we scaled. We actually raised more money. It was a commercial project, by the way. It wasn't a social project as such. So this wasn't volunteering. I actually quitted my job to raise money for it, and we did. And at its peak, we were like 25 people, roughly, spread between Germany and Saudi. Saudi was one operational team, and in Germany was the tech hub. And we had clients like IKEA and Aramex who were using the service. That was the peak.
The peak of the mountain, yeah.
Yeah, to not take anything away, but there's always a peak, and then
yeah, wow. So you said you quit your job. I really want to talk about that.
Yeah.
How do you make a decision like that, where you just leave obviously moving to Saudi with a family and everything, to quit your job with the finances, the money that you're bringing in, and to say, hey, I'm going to work on this project?
Yeah.
How can you take a decision like that?
Yeah, it's so yes, there was a lot of risk for sure. I had a family with 3 kids. My wife was at home, and 3 kids basically waiting for food coming on the table, right? And I was the person responsible for that. So I think the decision-making process looked as follows, and it's more calculated than it looks from outside. I was working as a consultant, and I was able to save money. And when I saved up enough money to be able to live on for a year, I said, okay, that's a cushion I can use. And I had this, number one, these savings. Number two, I asked myself, okay, if after a year I run out of money, how bad will it be for my career? What will happen if I quit my job, and then will I be able after a year to find another job? I said, yes, most likely it's gonna work. I will find another job. And then also we started working on Enwani while I was still working as a consultant on the side, and we only jumped ship when we saw, okay, there is something there.
Okay.
So all of that together meant a very calculated risk for me, saying, okay, there's something. I have enough money to live for a year. If in a year I can't make it, I still have all the options to find another job. Is it going to be easy? And no, of course not. But it's worth the risk. Why shouldn't I? And this is pretty much how that decision was taken.
You think?
And of course, I have to say, it's not easy to make this decision and choice if you're in it alone. But my wife, of course, was so supporting, and my family was so supporting, and they were saying, go for it, for sure.
So I'm interested in. Do you believe in the philosophy of high risk, high reward? If you take a risk like that, you think you would pertain a much higher reward, or are there certain benefits to staying safer? Like if we compared now, if you hadn't quit anything, and if Enwani never became what it was, compared to what it is now, what are the benefits of which one? And if you had to pick, would it be high risk, high reward, or more safe?
I'm a big believer in calculated risk, and not in uncalculated risk. So if you're just risking it, sometimes it will. I think the risk of breaking and losing everything is real. Breaking as a person, as a personality, like if you take too big of a bite, you can't. Then it can hurt you to an extent where your confidence is never
The same again.
Yeah, and it will have a deep impact on your life trajectory. So taking risks is fine, but they have to be calculated and taken at the right time. Having said that, the earlier, for example, when we think of entrepreneurship, the earlier people try and play around with entrepreneurship, the better. Because in the beginning, when we are still young, the risk is not as high, right?
Exactly.
The stakes are. So if I'm living at my parents' home and I'm not gambling with too much money, right? And I'm going for stuff that I like and I try it out with my friends. What will happen if I fail?
Exactly.
Not much.
I got. This is still not out yet, but I was put on an interview for. I was speaking about all the projects I'm working on, and one of the main points that I really touched on is a lot of people that are my age, a lot of people my age, 14, 15, 16, 17, 22, they think that they have a cushion to fall on, which they do. Their family, their family, finances from your parents, they have a cushion. But I'm a firm believer that you believe that at this age, only this age, you believe that this cushion doesn't exist, and you work with the same motivation and discipline as well. So, for example, like I'm working on this one project. It's called I haven't founded it, but I'm working with someone on it. It's called the Youth Dialogue. It's a pretty interesting project. It's like a social networking site, but its main point is to create a platform for people my age to share articles about three departments: science, business, and science, economics, and politics. Those three things. And something that I don't like is as someone my age, your writing or your opinion is not really valued now. You don't have the authority or credibility yet. So I think I found you call it a pain point? Is that what you call it?
Yeah.
I think I found, or somebody I knew found that pain point, and I wanted to work with him. He found the pain point of, hey, let's create a platform for people who are driven and my age to spread out and write their name and make an article, make it formatted, make it nice.
Nice.
And we're still working on it, still working on the launch. And the part where I realized this is not only, it's taking a lot of time. I did the calculated risk. I dropped another one of my projects. I dropped one of it. I just flattened it, said, "Khalas, no, I'm going to work on this." And even right now, it's based in Cambridge in the UK. And right now, it's getting licensed by the government and everything. So one of the things that I guess if what I'm taking away is, I think a lot more people my age specifically specifically should a lot of people my age specifically should understand that they have a cushion, they have something they can fall back on, but you need to live like you're starving, like you need food, you need that thing. Because especially now with the fact that you can fail a lot with no real consequences, it's now's the time to find who you are. Not like your major in university, but who you are as a person and how much work you want to put into something.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I believe in. And with Enwani, 2012 it started, and upon obviously a bit more research, I did find out that it got sold to Careem. What was that decision like? How did that occur? How did you feel about getting an offer, or was it negotiated? Can you tell me more?
Yeah. So while the product of Enwani was great for the customer and the delivery companies, it wasn't great in terms of business model. We weren't making enough money on every transaction which was done on Enwani. So people, to cut it short, weren't too ready to pay for addresses, right? So this didn't click. We tried to raise money. We got money. We raised a total of roughly $250,000 from friends and family, and then we had bigger investors and partnerships that were lined up, and they all fell apart. Like Saudi Post didn't come through, then CAX didn't come through, and they were all like, okay, worked on for a very long time and almost closed, and then no, not coming together. Also, a VC was a venture capital company was thinking to invest, and then at the end we didn't go for it. So all in all, we at the end ran out of money. So at some point we had to tell our people that, okay, guys, because they are all salaried, right? So we're not going to be able to pay going forward. So we started winding down slowly because we've seen, okay, our money is running out. And at some point, we were still hopeful for something to come through. So Hanadi, my wife, she went out and took her gold that she got for her marriage, and we went out to the market in Riyadh, Souk Taiba, and she sold her gold there in order to give us some more lifetime, and that gave us another 3 months. And then during those 3 months, conversations started with Careem. And the conversations started off by really understanding who these people are. The Careem co-founders, they started at the same time when I started Enwani. And we were very open about how business is going. So they said, Abdullah, we know it's not going anywhere. You know it's not going anywhere. Why don't we join forces and build something together? And Careem has traction. They just closed a round also with STC, and they had some momentum. But most importantly, there were people that I really, really admired. 2 co-founders who were very integer, very smart, and they were living on a mission very similar to the mission I was living on, which is let's use tech to ease the lives of people. That's how it was actually explicitly formulated. The mission of Careem was to ease the lives of people and build an awesome organization that inspires. So I was mission aligned with them and ready. So we said, okay, let's find a good exit for Enwani. Because the investors, they need to be treated fairly, and everybody who spent time on this, we need to find a good exit for them. So we tried as much as possible to take care of them, and actually, at the end, when we sold Careem, they made money on their money.
Yeah.
So that there was a happy ending
Yeah.
for the Enwani investors, which wasn't so clear and super high risk, but it worked out well. But then we had to make this choice. We shut shop, made it an acquisition on Acquihire, and started off with Careem and never looked back.
Yeah. And now, do you think? I think what I am interested in is really, what do you think is the difference between? You said both co-founders started at the same time.
Yeah.
So why do you think Enwani wasn't having as much momentum as Careem was at that time?
Product market fit is very hard, and that's why successful entrepreneurs usually start more than once.
Yeah.
It's very hard to get it right from the first attempt. When I count mine, there were maybe 4 total, with more or less leading contribution, but 3 co-founded and 1 where I was on board also in the founding stage, Standi. But overall, yes, yani, it's very hard to get 4 things right. Basically, you need to get the timing right. You have to be at the right time, in the right geography, with the right product, with the right team.
Yeah.
So it's
It's
not
like
easy
it's
to
a
get.
very,
Yeah.
you know that one theory, it's there's this one theory, if all the atoms are aligned perfectly and you hit the table, your hand will go through. So I feel like it's the same thing for the stars to align perfectly.
Okay.
So it's interesting to see that. And obviously with this, your role in technology in the Middle East has grown exponentially, right? Where do you want to see that role for yourself moving on in the future? Would you like to put it back to the mission that your parents had, through community development, or is it towards new and bigger tech innovations?
Hmm. First and foremost, I don't think my role as an individual is so much of importance here. It's more, and I've seen it, right? It's never a one-man show or a one-man job. All these things, as mentioned, have to be aligned, intentions to begin with, and if everything is aligned and people support you, the support system is there, then things grow massively and can have positive impact. And I believe just using that platform that has been created for even more good is fantastic, or using things that are evolving from it. To give you an example, with our platform, because we have, Careem has scaled really fast, starting from 2012, where we were in basically one city with a couple of captains and doing some rides. We scaled in 6 to 7 years to roughly 100 cities, more than 10 countries in the region. We had more than 2 million captains. It just scaled super fast, and the income opportunities we opened up on our platform for people to come and ride with Careem and make money was incredible, and that's a real value add to society. On the other hand, we also use that platform to say, hey, our customers, if you like to do even more good, you can donate for some of these causes. And we collected their donations, sometimes through a card type where they just write on a Careem, pay 3 riyals or dirhams or whatever it is more, and whatever they pay more goes to a good cause, and we match it. And through these type of engagements, where we, for example, supported refugees or support people in need in our countries, we were able to collect close to 15 million Saudi riyal, and we were able to impact 100,000 people through these type of things. So I believe leveraging the impact we can have now through the platform is something that is super exciting and remains exciting. Scale gives opportunity, right? And then there's also the culture we foster within Careem to take care of the other, take care of society. We had fantastic chances. We were just born with a lot of good chances. So let's take care of others who are not. And a lot of the people who were with Careem, and when the exit happened, they made some money because we sold the business to Uber in 2019. So a lot of these people in 2019 went on to start their own startups.
Right.
And there's now more than 100 startups founded by people who were originally
From Careem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They call it the Careem Mafia. So that's an amplified impact that still remains, and we're very happy to see that.
Did you play a part in the acquisition by Uber? Did you oversee it, or?
Yeah, no. It was definitely led and orchestrated mainly by Mudassir and Magnus, the original co-founders, and the person who was also involved in it was Anchor, very close to the deal making and to finding really the good landing for Careem. But we always were like chatting back and forth and finding good ways on how to structure the deal, or how whether or not we should go for it. So there was this type of alignment, but customer facing, so to say, or other party facing was Mudassir, Magnus, and Anchor mainly.
Okay, where do you think Careem would be today if they didn't merge with Uber?
Good question.
Because sometimes I'm pretty sure, I forgot, Amazon bought Souk.com.
Correct. Yeah.
So now sometimes I think back in the day when I was like 8-9 years old, when I used to buy off Souk, and now I buy off of Amazon, I'm like, I wonder how would the playing field or the competitiveness of the specific, like the niche, I wonder how that would be today if it wasn't just Uber who controlled all of it, and if it was two parties actually.
Yeah. So the question is, okay, looking back, was it a good move or not? Could we have wished for more, et cetera, right? And there's, alhamdulillah, and it's going back to the experience with the university, right? You put everything you can, and then whatever happens is the best. But also looking back, I see that we could not have wished for more. It was a super wise decision, and obviously we asked a lot of people also because there was this question: should we continue raising money from outside, or should we sell the business? And given the business was still not profitable, it was still a very high risk business, and we had to raise tremendous amounts of money that we were in the midst of. But then there was also this conversation with our competitor to do an acquisition, and what led to the decision to actually go for the acquisition was two main things. Number one, our mission statement was very clear. We wanted to have simplify the lives of people and build an awesome organization that inspires, and we felt an acquisition is an inspiring event for the region. And an acquisition, also the way we've structured it was giving us the opportunity to continue on our mission. So Careem remained as a brand, we remained to be leading the company, etc. And we saw this is a good match. And then we had to also be very mindful with our investors who gave us so much money and risked so much by de-risking the business and giving them an exit and for giving them the chance to make some money. Also, of course, all our colleagues who got shares in the company, they were promised a great story, and we wanted to make some of it happen. So overall, no, it was a very, very good move. Alhamdulillah, it was the right choice. Then afterwards, also, um, um, yeah, Corona hit, and it was a very, very tough time for all of us because we were in the right, and out of a sudden everybody had to stay at home. And would it not have been to such a great partner of like Careem, like Uber, it would have been way, way harder to overcome that challenge and race again. So no, it has been an amazing moment for the ecosystem, and as mentioned. After that happened, more investors were interested about the Middle East. More money was flowing into new startups. More entrepreneurs came on the arena.
The scene,
Yeah, exactly.
So you spoke about, so this is a really interesting story. I'm mapping it out. Germany, Waymo, Enwani, Careem. Is there anybody who's been with you for this entire journey, from one of your friends who started with you a startup, who's been with you to this day, where they're working on all this stuff? Or is there any name that comes to mind?
It's definitely my wife. She was there all the time, not in the project, but more than present. But in some of them, there were friends. Yes, so Enwani and Waymo. There was some overlap, and we continued working a little bit in Careem also.
Yeah.
But else, it was very much distinct.
I believe it was Grant Cardone who said, and I read this online, he said that, obviously, it's just paraphrasing. He said that all you need is one person to motivate you and for you to succeed. Where do you think, so you mentioned definitely your wife. How much of an impact do you think it would have propelled you to, you're already on that trajectory, you already knew what you wanted to do. How much did having that one person on your side push that forward?
Wow, there's so much truth in this. It was always my co-founder, always. Whatever I was doing, picking the right co-founder was key. Someone who is mission aligned, who pulls you up in bad moments, etc., etc., and who's someone also when you just watch him working, you're inspired. Like, wow, this is good work.
Yeah.
Like someone is really putting his heart into the piece of work. It's craftsmanship.
Yeah.
So that was always the case. If it wasn't to fantastic co-founders, nothing would have happened, definitely.
Yeah.
And I was a bit lucky that I was born and raised in Germany in an ecosystem of really entrepreneurial geeks.
Yeah.
So somehow being surrounded by people who can inspire you, besides, sometimes it's just people around you, even if you don't start something with them. If you see them starting something, that tells you, hey, we're buddies. We were in the same classroom, and you have gone on and started something. I can too. So just having these people around you, 100%.
There is also this this other saying. It goes, "Show me your friends, I'll show you your future." What role do you think your friends have played on your journey so far? And one of the biggest questions that I love asking: have you lost any friends along the way?
Yeah, great question, Ahmed. I strongly believe that the people you surround yourself with, and that's an active choice. It's nothing that is passively encountered. That they have huge impact on your life, 100%. And hence, yes, I completely agree that when we surround ourselves with people who remind us of being truthful, of our moral compass, who just inspire us to do the right thing, even if it hurts.
Yeah.
Um, then this is super helpful. Just today, we had a conversation between myself and my co-founder, and there was this case where we either tell a customer the bad truth that we messed up,
Yeah.
or we just go on because the impact on the customer would not be so big. And as a principal choice, we said, even if it doesn't impact the customer so much,
Transparency.
let's go out and tell him,
Yeah.
just to build that culture
Of trust.
of trust, and even internally. And that's something that came out in a conversation with my co-founder, who just pushed the envelope on this part,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, these choices, there are so many of these small choices. With whom will you discuss them? With the closest people to you. So
Yeah.
choose them wisely. 100%. Yeah.
And are there any people who you originally picked and now they're no longer like with you? They've just diverged?
Of course. Yes, of course. A lot of people in my childhood and teenage age, where you're still like searching
Yeah.
and finding out who you are and who you want to become. They were there, part of the journey, and we had a lot of fun together. But then they had to make their choice, and I had to make my choice, right? And then we grew out, sometimes it was a very explicit choice, and sometimes we are just engaging less and less and less.
Yeah.
So no, 100%. Of course, it happens.
Yeah. And I know this from other people who, not necessarily in academics or whatever, they go on they go under a path where they're alone. There is no friend, there is no partner, nothing. They're just alone. And obviously, there again, another saying is, you don't drink poison if you're thirsty. So just because you want a friend to tag along, you don't go for the wrong people. So is there any piece of advice or anything you'd like to tell people who are alone on their path or on their mission or on their journey?
Yeah, the question is most likely, what is the reason for being alone on a journey? Um, Sometimes we need also feedback from our surrounding that maybe the journey we've picked is not the right one.
Yeah.
Um, and if we're completely alone on a journey, it gives us some signal, right? Um, on, I think we need each other
Yeah.
as as humans, right? We need each other. We need our families, our friends, our support system. So being completely alone is tough, most likely. But there are grades, right? There are people who enjoy being more alone than others,
Yeah.
and that's totally cool. But most likely having some mirrors around us, people who really love us and give us honest feedback,
Yeah.
is something everybody should try to get around him or her.
Yeah, I agree. And I think for me, not only just my friends that are around me, but um, one of the things that I'd love to place an impact on. Last year in March, I spoke at a panel conference, an Imkan Education panel conference, to a lot of schools over across Saudi Arabia here in Jeddah. And one of the main points that I touched on is involving family for everything you do with your kid in school. So when you spoke about mirrors, the biggest mirror for me, I would say, is my own mother, because without her, it's she's the one who like keeps me in check and does it in a way that helps me sort of.
Yeah.
So for that concept of involving parents or family, where would you stand on that? Because some people, they say they don't do business with friends or family because lines can get blurry. That's one of, for me, I think, that's something, even with with the clubs that I've been in and a lot of other stuff.
Yeah.
I prefer to work with someone from a professional standpoint. Not necessarily, they can be my friend, but it's not a pushing factor because the lines do get blurry and things, we let them slide just because I know them.
Yeah. I'm not of that school. I can understand why people choose not to work with friends or family, but I love working with friends. It's just so joyful. Um, it's and people I worked with very quickly also grew to close friends.
Yeah.
I yeah. So for me, it's a bit different. I love being very close to the people I work with, and the mission I'm on is just bigger than work.
Yeah.
So the second we're working on a mission that is bigger than ourselves, is when a job is not a job.
Yeah.
It's not even a career. It's a mission. It's something that's really
There is this
like moves your heart.
This
right?
one quote, Steve Jobs, he says, "If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your
Yeah,
life."
It's exactly. And so people who are on this love journey,
Yeah.
working on something they're really passionate about, beyond the day to day and the paycheck.
Yeah.
That is where you quickly have the chemistry and click
Yeah.
for it to go way beyond work, and then it's just for me that plays a big role of also my mental health and my sanity to be surrounded by people I really love and love working with, even beyond
Right.
the task at hand, right?
There is this other thing that comes with attending this school is it's to put your kid into here, it comes with a very high cost, putting your children into here. And I know from friends and from other families that this cost is one that it takes all of their money to give a good education for my children. So I want to ask about two things. What are your thoughts on investing in your children for them to get this education and eventually study US, Germany, UK? So investment in your children in their education rather than investment in businesses or anything else.
Yeah.
And would you tell people who are in that same situation, who are your age, with putting their children into this school, to continue investing, or is it better to do what you did with Enwani and take a calculated risk for yourself and for later on in life?
Yeah. I believe the investment in education is so important that I would not gamble on this piece.
Yeah.
in anyone's development. So picking the right school as much as we can. I would really go out of my way, and go less on vacation, drive a smaller car, cut down on unnecessary expenses in order to afford the best school I can for my children. And at some, I was lucky enough to be born and raised in Germany, so I enjoyed good schooling. And I've seen what the difference is between a good school and not so good school. It really makes a difference. As you know, what we learn in childhood, what we learn in early ages of our lives impacts a lot. It has the impact of the ecosystem and network and friend circles we put our children in. So that's a choice to make when we choose a school. Plus, of course, the academics and the skills.
The rigor.
Exactly. So I would always
Take education.
always prioritize education. Always.
Then what would you tell someone
question.
who was against university education for things that aren't STEM, not engineering, CS, medicine? They don't believe in a university level education, and they would rather work on a personal project or business. What would you tell them?
Yeah. I would love to give the romantic answer here and fit in and say, follow your passion. You don't need to do that. And but I feel it's always better to continue and go ahead and study if you can. Not everybody can, not everybody must. But it just opens more doors for options you have later in life. That's one point. And the second point is also during university, you just learn so much that changes the way you look at life. And I feel in most cases it changes it to the better.
To the better.
Yeah, in most cases. So it's a good investment, and it's not a direct like most likely a lot of what you're learning at uni in that class is not being used ever in your life. But the mindset that you're encountering something new, that you're also that you're suddenly getting those tough homeworks that you look at and you don't even know where to start, and you see people around you, because it's a more competitive environment. You see people around you who know what to do, and you're like, okay, I have to up my game here.
Yeah, exactly.
So all of this, I think it's very useful for the development. So again, there's always these exceptions, but I'm not talking now about a romantic exception, right? I'm talking about the standard case. The standard case, uni helps a lot, I believe, in your development and choosing. It's the same what I said about school, choosing the best uni to go to, etc. I'm not talking it has to be an Ivy League, etc. But the best for your very specific situation. That is a choice to be taken carefully.
And regardless, I like how you mentioned the concept of Ivy Leagues, and I want to segue that into education outside of Middle East or your home country. I know people, obviously, I'm in a school, so there are people who graduate and they apply in Saudi Arabia as a safety to make sure they're going to university, and they apply to the US as well, and they get in the US. Some choose to go to the US and others choose to stay in Saudi. Where do you stand on this, and what conditions do you think can help choose or pick one of these choices?
I would love to hear what you think about this also. So, I believe it depends a lot on the child to begin with, and it's hard for a parent to say it depends on the child.
Yeah,
it's it's actually easy to say that. It's harder to live it. But we should really start with a child. And again, I'm saying it's very hard emotionally to detach yourself from your children and say that's their life. And although we want the best for them, etc., but it's their life, and the best for them is not necessarily what you have missed in your life.
Exactly.
So most of the time, it's parents trying to make up for stuff they haven't done in their lives through their kids. And that's not a healthy way. It's a reactive way to support your children. But again, it's understandable and it's instinctive. And the question is my child ready to go out and live alone so far away from home in a country that is new, etc. This readiness can be, again, it's calculated risk, right? So let's calculate how risky is that? How often has the child been exposed to this kind of experience in miniature? Were there any summer camps where we tried that before? Have we gone to the US to try it out? Have we been there as a vacation even, etc.? So there's a lot of preparation that has to happen. And when we see that it doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's fine. And we have some experiences with that working out and not working out. So I don't think it's a must for everybody, and it's really a case-by-case individual choice. And there's always the chance later on to go out and study abroad if that is so
Yeah.
important, right? We still can go for a master abroad later on, or an MBA, or whatever it is. Even myself, I mean, think about it. I was born and raised in Germany. I studied in Germany, so
Yeah.
I didn't really go out.
Yeah.
So I took
Doesn't really count.
Yeah.
So you asked me for my opinion.
Yeah, please.
Do you want it from
Thank you for
my
remembering.
opinion, or as it, like if I was, obviously I have no experience as a parent, but if I was as a parent, what I would do? So which one or both?
No, you as what
myself?
would you you and your friends? How do you think about studying here versus studying outside versus studying at all?
Yeah. I think, in my personal opinion, the one thing that keeps man or human going is learning, education. You can learn through your businesses or whatever, and it's a privileged type of learning for you to be able to start businesses with financing and all that. It's a privileged type. Not everyone can do that. And at the same time, it doesn't encapsulate everything about learning. For me, learning is one of the biggest things, because not only is it like, in Islam, it's a form of like, it's a form of jihad. I'm learning for the sake of showing people this is what my community is, what my religion tells me to do. So not only that, but for me, education is one of the biggest things, and it's also about the facts. So I know from about other companies. If you study outside, you live there, you get their passport, you come back to the Middle East, you get paid based on your passport. So there's such a huge value to being in those other countries. And obviously, we don't know how the world changes, the dynamic of it, which country will be more powerful or whatever it may be. But you also need to accept, you said you made your decision for Waymo based on facts. There are also facts you need to accept, you know? So when it comes to studying in Egypt compared to the US, the lower US universities will be better than the best in Egypt, you know? So you need to really think about how you're missing out a lot on a really good, not it doesn't have to be really good in the US, but better than where you are right now. And it's about your experiences. So obviously, working Careem and Uber, you have to work with people who aren't in your community, who aren't in your region. So it's about going outside, working with other people as well. This youth dialogue thing, the person who contacted me, or he contacted, like he put it out there. He is a university, or he's a student at the University of Cambridge. MashaAllah, he goes to Cambridge University, and part of doing this thing with him is I want to interact with others outside. You know, a lot of people ask me, Ahmed, why do you have a LinkedIn at 16? I have a LinkedIn at age 16. The biggest reason for me, I want to see what others outside are doing. Not on their Instagram story at the beach. I want to see what they're working on. So there are multiple initiatives. As someone my age and with other people, a big part, you learn from the different experience from here and somewhere else. And there's also a time where, like you said, failure is essential to learn. You need to fail. You need to learn. You need to get punched once so you know how to block it the next time, right? So even if going to the US is something that is, for some people, it's a bit scary and it's a bit, I've never been there or my kid has never been there. I think it's a necessary punch for myself and for everybody else. I'm not saying I'm gonna go there and I will adapt immediately. I've only gone there, I think it was one time, New York and Washington, just once for like a week or 2 weeks in the US.
Okay.
That's the only time, and that's the only place I do want to study at the end. And I think a very big part of it also is in the United States as well. The community of entrepreneurship is a lot more flourishing. Not flourishing. It's higher in the Middle East. It's flourishing now, but it is already prevalent there. So I feel like it's much safer there. I was looking into, one of the universities I intend on applying to is Cornell for engineering, and I was looking into where it is. It's in upstate New York. It's in a place called Ithaca. And obviously, when I first read that, I was like, what is Ithaca? I don't know what this is. I did more research, and it's a college town, which means Cornell is, you only know about Ithaca because of Cornell.
Yeah.
And after really digging into it, Ithaca has so many, it's a startup based community.
Oh, wow.
Most of the shops there, startups, there's funding, or there is a like community of donating to help build stuff up there. So part of a university community as well. So applying to university isn't just I'm not just applying to get in. It's also thinking about where you're going. So I'm applying here because this is the community I'm going to. There are people with ideas, with innovation. It might be not in, NYC, it might not be in Los Angeles, but there's something there. And I think that's the biggest thing about education abroad, especially.
That's super interesting. Um, and how would you prepare yourself to go? Do you feel ready, last to go, or you feel there's something to prep?
When I speak about this with my mom in specific, yeah, she cries about it because it's a reality that inshallah, like I'm not saying inshallah, like I want to study in the US, so inshallah it's a reality that she will face, but it's also one that isn't very nice. And how I feel about it is, can you say the question one more time?
Yeah, I mean, how would you prep? What's your
Prepare.
advice
How I would
to
prepare.
prepare
As myself,
people? Yeah.
I mean, I'm not there yet, so I don't know how to get prepared. But what I feel like I would do, really, is really study where I'm going. When you said Ivy League, I think one of the biggest things is, obviously I will be applying to a couple of them, inshallah, because this is the standard of education that I want. This is the place that I want to go to. But it's about knowing where you're going. So understanding the culture there, understanding the people there, understanding people who've made it out of there, the Arabic term of sum'a, or reputation. So to prepare, really research where you're going, understand what you want to do in specific, and if this is the right fit for you. One of the biggest questions that come on university applications is, why us? And when they say why us, they don't actually ask, do you like us? No, they ask, how do you and us connect? How do we fit with each other? So if I were to say to prep as a student, at me, 16 years old, research a lot about the future and about where you want to go and about the community there, because it isn't just a bachelor's degree at the end. It's 4 years of your life. And that's why in the beginning, from age 12 to now, I wanted to study medicine. It was my number one goal. I wanted to study medicine. Um, wanted to go to Germany for their standard for medical education there, and obviously you have the Harvard Med and all this stuff. And then I really thought about it. It's in the US specifically, 4 years pre-med. I don't know how many years after medical school,
Yeah, it's long.
and then residency, which doesn't pay like as much as you'd expect it to. I'm already studying so far 16, 18 years of my life, and then I'm going to add on top a 10 years. And when you do the math, it comes out to one-eighth of your life approximately studying, which I told you, I love the pursuit of education. You need to pursue education, but something like that, if it isn't for you, don't go for it, especially with medical or for even engineering. Some people say don't become a doctor if it's just for money. Even for engineering, don't become an engineer if it's just for money, or computer science if it's just, with the stuff, it's new big thing, major in it, it makes a lot of money when you graduate. If you're doing it for that, then it's always going to be one pair of glasses that you're looking through.
Yeah, I like the point to really research well where you're going. And based on that to choose the best unis for yourself, right? Yeah, it's a big choice.
Do you think back in Germany you would have wanted to study in the US, or would you still wanted to stay in Germany?
Interestingly, it wasn't back to who's around you. It wasn't really something I was exposed to as an idea.
Yeah.
Everybody was just studying in Germany, maybe because the unis there are good enough.
Yeah.
But no one really was thinking about leaving, and no one, at least from my surrounding.
Yeah.
So it wasn't on my mind at all. While studying, it appeared to me, okay, maybe it's good to have some exposure to international traineeships or some work experience outside to make yourself a little bit more employable. But that was already after I started and was quite advanced in my university.
I also think the other thing you said about even if you wanted to study outside, you can get a master's and MBA, all this stuff. A lot of people, they say that, and even my parents, they've done that. They've taken that same course or that same path of action. One of the things I saw this again on LinkedIn. There is a professor. I contacted him recently. I haven't heard a reply yet. I wanted to research at his lab for mechanical engineering. His name is also Ahmed Elbanna. He graduated from Cairo University.
Yeah.
And then he did a master's there, and then he did a master's at Caltech, a PhD at Caltech, and then he's been teaching at the University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, for 11 years. So if only a master's degree can get that for you, can you imagine what a bachelor's degree can do? And instead of typically a master's is how long? 2 years, is it? Or
Yeah, probably.
2 years, 4 years of a bachelor's, and from the ground up, and with your class as well, you're all growing together. So that's where I think I would want to be. That's the community I'd want to be in as well.
Yeah, he should rather answer, man.
All right. Unfortunately, it's time. We've concluded our episode. I'd like to thank everybody for watching. I'd like to thank Abdullah for coming on the episode.
Thank you
it
for
was
having me.
amazing.
Likewise.
And it was, I think the really interesting part is on this podcast, I've interviewed Dr. Robert Jackson, the superintendent of the school. So this is education. And Mr. Muhannad Shobain, who runs Swish. So it's sports. And now it's really the idea of tech and startups, which is what I liked about most in today. And I hope everybody else takes away. So, and even something that even my own, obviously, Arab parents, we have the standard of, don't get below an A or all this stuff. But it's so important, like you said, to fail. And I don't want to normalize failure. I want to normalize accepting that this is something that will happen, especially with uni applications and all this stuff. You'll get rejected. Nobody scores 100% on everything. So I think that was one of the best takeaways of today. What about you?
Yeah, thank you. No, I agree. This is important. And it's socially, we're getting there as a society. I think it's more and more accepted these days that, okay, put yourself out there and fail. I liked your thinking about how to prep for going outside and how diligent we have to be when we take such a big life choice. 4 years of our lives is not small, and obviously the US is far away.
Yeah.
Our moms are crying at home, so let's be rather well and diligently prepared for that. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you for the next episode. Goodbye.
Thank you, Ahmed.